How's it going? So I've got some time. It is raining. I gotta go take my kid to Ag Day here in a little bit. So I'm gonna do tomorrow's Periscope today. So I can see you if you got questions. Feel free to ask me questions. I want to talk about racking the shotgun. Imagine a shotgun. Scare some people, right? So I've been watching this Perry Marshall guy on YouTube, and he starts his story talking about his buddy that wanted to learn gambling, and he went to a gambler asking advice. You know, the house always wins in gambling, right? Not if you're playing other people or other suckers. So what this guy did to teach him was they went to a strip club. He had a sawed-off shotgun in his pocket. Somehow he concealed it. They went to the bar, and he racked the shotgun. And he looked at everybody's eyes, and he saw a couple dudes over there perk up when that happened. And he told that guy, he said, "You do not want to play poker with those guys." The point he was trying to make was, you need to figure out whose lunch that you're going to eat. So I think in agriculture, we get so caught up with the very top numbers. We talk about all these numbers. We need to talk about the numbers or the lunch that you can eat. What can you replace with something that's going to cost less or a system that's simpler? And I'm going to tell you a story. And I do these things not to say like I'm some guru or something. I'm not selling you anything. I'm just sharing my story so you can tell me your story. And it's all part of this network where we learn off each other. But I was kind of a young entrepreneur. I started selling sweet corn when I was about 10 or 11 in Gaston. And it went to where we were selling about 10 acres of sweet corn. And at the time when I'm in high school, you know, I have this cash. We have all these stands and stuff. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed sales. I enjoyed talking to people. And I went to college. We went on road trips everywhere. I graduated. I had burned through all of this cash that I had saved up. And I was doing a sales job a year or so after school locally at a home improvement company. And I was literally down to my last few dollars. I had to borrow a $20 bill to make it to an appointment that was somewhere between like Peru and Kokomo. And I was trying to sell windows. And I got there, knocked on the door, nobody was there. And they had these roosters, and they started chasing me. And I run to my car, I'm in a tie, and I got some stupid Impala or something. I slammed the door, and these roosters are right outside. And at that point, I was just pissed. I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was like, what am I doing with my life? It was just a bad time, but it was really the best time. And I had to just quit. I had to quit taking leads. The way that this company was structured was we had a call room, and they would give away some free gift card or something. And they said, yeah, bring him out. And it was the worst way I could spend my time. So I was driving all over the state, putting miles on a car that I couldn't afford, spending money on gas, and I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't actually doing anything. I wasn't leveraging my talents at all. So that next day, I had no money. And I remember back to talking. The first thing I was supposed to talk to a customer, I to sell the company. And we had 50,000 customers. And I thought, screw it. Let's just take advantage of this unfair advantage here. And I just went and printed off all of the people that lived in Newcastle, Indiana, which is about 15 miles south of Muncie. And I started highlighting all the 4th Streets. And it was an old neighborhood. And you knocked on those doors, and Ethel and Bert would answer the door. They hadn't talked to anybody in a while. I told my sales manager, I said, I'm quitting my sales job. I'm quality control. And what happened through this next month was, instead of driving around and talking and trying to get blood out of a turnip and wasting all this time, my face was in front of past customers. It was people that we had done work with, and I was always working. My fields were always collecting sunshine. But the point was that I made as much sales in that next month than I did the previous 6 months. And not only than that, since they didn't have the system of producing these leads, they had no time, money invested, they paid me double. So that right there gave me the confidence to quit my job, because I hated it anyway. I wanted to get my hands dirty. I wanted calluses, dirt. So I took that same mindset and I went to the landscape business, and instead of advertising, which I had a marketing background, really I think that's some of the most wasted money possible, is that we broadcast all these things everywhere. I just went to the specific places that I wanted to do work. And once I made them happy, I could leverage that to the next guy. And I made these specific routes. So the point in this, when we look at the numbers, if this company called LJ Stone, look it up, there's probably 2 or 3 million people in this area of 100 miles around it. Boil that 2 million down to the 50,000 customers. Boil that down to the 10,000 people that would be home and talk to you, and boil that down to the 2,000 people that are looking for you to do something to do, and get your face in front of that. So when I go off on all these tangents about something being fractal, the point is narrow all this down to a couple variables. So I made this little graph, and we'll flip it around and we'll go off on a little tangent because of this. So this little triangle that he talks about is this triangle. And if it was agronomy, if it's sales, it's more about traffic, conversion, and the economics, making on each thing. But in agronomy, I look at it as sunshine and water. Those are your two finite things that you can't really control. It's free. You can take advantage of it. But what's your unfair advantage? It can be an advantage to either be next to the city and market to them. It can be unfair and advantage to be out in the middle of nowhere where nobody cares what you do. I mean, anything has a two-way street. You got to think about the context and the motive. A lot of these soil health people, if I look at Lauren Steinlage or Gabe Brown, they've built their soils up. They have this context to do things that other people can't do. Take advantage of that. But we got to think about the motive of our customers and motive of our plants. So this is kind of this X factor, if you will. So I'll just share one thing I was thinking about it when I was getting ready here. In 2017-18, when I made my first relay crop, or the second relay crop, and I went out there and combined the heads off, I ran over the beans, and all these people got so worried about the equipment. They're asking, why don't you do this? Why don't you invest? Why don't you put all this money in here and pull it off? I was more worried about the agronomy aspect. And what really opened my eyes was changing the motive of a plant. If you can change the motive to where you are changing its plant capability, then I can take this soybean plant with all these nodes and branches and standability, and I can put it in the context of pig shit, and I can actually give it more energy, more sunlight energy, and it's not going to lodge, and I have all these opportunities for more yield. Now, that might seem like a tangent, but once you start to do things and try different things and you see these little variables, you can start plugging in new things. And I think just this one observation that 1 year allowed me to take the individual things that I was seeing and scale it the next year and go off to 19. So anyway, hopefully you watched, hopefully you learned something, and we'll come up with something else. Thanks.